started, if you have any vision difficulties or hard of hearing, the QR code can take you to the slides that have image descriptions and transcripts. And while you're doing that, if anyone is, I'm going to tell you that I'm really nervous. And when I'm nervous, if you've spoken to me, I ramble, talk, tell a lot of stories. So I'm going to try to use my phone so that I don't tell you too many stories. The lyric up there, "Here Comes Shining, Everybody Gonna Shine," is by Lizzo. If you don't know her, she is fantastic. And you're going to learn a lot about her today. So who is Lizzo? She self-describes as a band nerd. She is a classically trained flute player, and she creates rap music. She's been creating music for at least 10 years and touring, but has only really blown up over the past 18 months or a year or so. She really embodies what it means to be yourself and use your success to help raise others. She does it through her voice, her creative output, and her activism. She creates really powerful messages, and these messages are now smashing records all over the place. It's really great. And so she's this absolute force of positivity, self-love and inclusion, and she's changing what perceptions in music, or what the perceptions of success in music can look like. In June this year, she was awarded one of the Pride 50, which was trailblazing individuals who actively ensure society remains moving towards equality, acceptance, and dignity for all queer people. So she's really cool, and I think beyond music, she has a lot to teach us. So I think she can make the world a little bit brighter. So, I'm Hilary. I'm a little bit obsessed with Lizzo. I think she's really cool. As Kit said, I run my own consultancy. I'm also the chapter lead for Grow Remote in Australia, and have numerous other projects. I'm really tired. This year's been really, really, really busy. Have you been busy? Yes. Were you busy this week? Put your hands up. What about this month? Were you busy? Keep your hands up. I don't even have to ask this year. We've all been really busy. Good job. Pat on the back. Fantastic work. When I talk about being busy, I had to juggle a lot of things to get here. I had extra client work to put in. I had extra admin, and then I ended up in hospital. I had to reorganise my home and care and appointments to make it here. So I wanted to give space and time to everyone here. I think about the hard work because there was a lot of it, but I also know there was a lot of luck. Things had to align in the right way for that to happen. And I suspect for some of us here, luck had to happen as well. I frame it as luck because sometimes it's more comfortable to see the privileges we have been afforded in life in this way. Being able to acknowledge where we have benefited in life is important to see where others might not. I am a fat, queer woman living with complex chronic illnesses who didn't finish high school, didn't get to attend university, and despite that, I'm here on this stage, and that's really, really cool. But I'm here because of a combination of, time, being reasonably able-bodied most of the time, benefiting from white privilege, being middle class, and having a great support network and meeting the right people at the right time. Which just means it was luck of the draw. So I look at everyone here and I think, what got you here? What luck helped you get in this room today? Was it, birth? Was it people you met? Was it people you went to school with? Was it people you were traveling with? Was it the amazing people you met at conferences? So I think about luck a lot, and I think about some of it happens spontaneously, although I don't even think lotto is particularly spontaneous because you still need to go buy that ticket and it be the right one. But I think a lot of that there is an element that we can influence. And if we can influence it, then maybe we can share it. So I want to talk about how we might be able to share our luck around. So I'm really, really lucky, but these are the people that helped me get here today. So Andrew is an accessibility consultant in Canada. He does all his work remotely, but he can't make it. You know, even if Canada was closer to New Zealand, for him to bring a team of support workers with him, it makes it financially not viable. Joan, who anyone that's spoken to me has probably heard about Joan. Joan is someone that works with me on marketing and content. She is amazing, and the moment the conference came up, I'm like, Joan, come go, what am I going to do? And she's like, Hilary, I can't get my passport at the moment because I'm still in transition, so I don't have the right gender identity, so I can't travel at the moment. And then she's like, but what country is it? I'm like, oh, it's New Zealand. She's like, well, that's okay, but if it's anywhere else, there's places I can't go anymore. The moment my passport identifies that I'm trans, I cannot travel to those countries because it's still illegal. And then there's my mom. So my mom works for me, but she lives on a farm and is a full-time carer of my disabled sister. For her to come here, it's the same. Does she bring a team for my sister? Does she leave my sister there? All of these people benefit from the opportunities that remote work provides, but in a different way to us. We're not script. Okay, so I love remote work. But I think I love it for different reasons to most of the people here. I love it because I can balance, on average, 10 doctor's appointments a month, hospital visits, surgery. I'm not going to surgeries 10 times a month, just for the record. It's 10 appointments. And then I have 2 stepkids, 2 dogs, 2 chickens, 40,000 bees, which apparently swarmed on the weekend, which means I have more bees. I get a lot of text messages to my partner. I'm like, wait, we have more bees? What do we do with the extra bees? Apparently we get a man to take the bees away. But remote work lets me travel, but not to the same frequency that potentially other people. Remote work is amazing for my quality of life. And I think about that, and I think about its power, and then I get a little bit sad, because when I go to conferences like this, or I look at other businesses, I'm not seeing an over-representation of people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, or caring responsibilities. It kind of looks like all the other businesses, which kind of just means it looks like it's not very representative of the world, which is really, really sad. So I think about why that is. And I think for many places and companies and conferences, it's because we still use the frameworks and systems that were optimized for more able-bodied people, or people with different requirements. And that also makes me, I think a lot. I think that it's ridiculous because ultimately, although Nick and Kerry aren't making money, we're still in a capitalist society and we should be trying to make money until capitalism burns. But I think about that and I'm like, well, if we're trying to make more money, inviting more people or getting more people involved will probably help us make more money. So how do we change that? How do we actually get more people involved? Now that's a really big thing, so I don't want to actually talk about all of that. For me, it comes under diversity and inclusion. I figure a lot of you have heard this term in various ways over time, so I want to make sure we're using the same definitions today. My first one is diversity is having everyone and Lizzo at the party, and inclusion is making sure everyone at the party feels as good as Lizzo. So, I have a small eye because I said diversity and inclusion, but I actually just want to talk about inclusion and inclusion in remote work. There's a couple of reasons. The first one is that if we look at diversity and inclusion as a global thing, it's a huge, gnarly, systemic issue. So trying to actually approach that is a bit daunting, just a little bit. But the other thing is that if we focus on diversity and don't do the work of inclusion, it's actually trash. It's like inviting someone to a party when you know that they're not going to feel welcome. That's a shitty thing to do. And so when I talk about it in a work sense, if you're inviting someone to a job or a conference or a project where they're not going to feel that they can be themselves or feel comfortable, that's a shitty thing to do. And if they're a vulnerable person, and using vulnerable in a slightly different definition to the rest of today, getting someone on a project where the environment is toxic is harmful and potentially actually abusive. So we need to be a little bit more thoughtful about when we're inviting people. So today I want to break it down. I want to focus on inclusion, and I want to focus on inclusion because that's largely our behaviours. And that's how all of us can make a little bit of a difference. Our actions can truly affect change. So I want to talk about how we can use our shine, or our luck, or our amazing privilege to lift others who consistently still don't get the same opportunities as us. I want to build a party that Lizzo would be proud of. So I thought about this and made 6 steps. The ultimate Lizzo party. Okay, step 1, make space. There's a few areas for this, but I want you to think about making the right spot, and that's making space for me, making space for people like Andrew, Joan, or my mum, but also making space for you. Part of becoming more cognizant of inclusivity, it means that you're going to have some critical reflections on your habits and your conditioning and your privilege. And that will need space and compassion for you and the other people. Reflecting on how you've been actively but unintentionally excluding a large group of people can be quite heavy emotionally. Then you start seeing how society and workplace systems reinforce this, and it becomes a little bit heartbreaking. So I don't want us to think big, I want to think small, but then continue to work on acknowledging the space that we take up and how we might be able to make other spaces, give a little bit more room. And that's not to diminish yourself, so I don't want you sitting there going, I need to make myself smaller to create space for other people. You can still be yourself, but just look around and see if there's something else that you can be doing. How did I make space? So when I accepted this presentation, I intentionally reached out to remote workers that would benefit from the visibility of this conference, but weren't able to attend. I paid them for their work, and I've centered them in this presentation on purpose. I want to make space, I want to give them greater visibility. How can you make space? So making space can be as simple as the right questions when organising a meeting, or introducing rules like no interruptions, or wow, I only have 10 minutes and I feel like I'm only halfway through. Or ensuring that every person in that meeting is asked if they have a question. If you throw it to the group, people that feel more vulnerable may not actually have the space to answer. Making space can obviously be much bigger when you start talking about the physical space and time that additional needs require for conferences or projects. Okay, step 2, sound check. Many of us have really powerful voices. Sometimes we're given platforms to raise our voices, or sometimes we're in a group of people with similar voices. Either way, that means the voices are loud. When you're trying to be more inclusive, you need to start thinking about how loud some voices are and whether the majority wants are overshadowing the needs of a minority. When you're planning say a group dinner with friends, sometimes you might put a poll online to see where their group wants to go. So in this poll, 9 out of 10 people come back and say they want to go to the steakhouse. Steakhouse has no vegetarian options. That one person who didn't select the steakhouse is vegetarian and now has 3 choices. They can go and potentially feel left out. They can not bother attending at all, or be that person that makes everyone go somewhere that they didn't pick. If we replace vegetarian with uses a wheelchair or caring responsibilities, and dinner with a global team kickoff, you can start to see how some voices need to be louder than others. A way around that is asking for requirements before you start the poll. If you have the right ingredients beforehand, you can start to build something. It's like if you have a cake, if you can't add the ingredients at the end, you can't go, oh, hey, add some inclusion to this cake. It's already baked. It's not going to fix it. The other thing is that as the organiser, you have the ownership of the narrative and the outcome of that situation. So putting that back onto someone that has additional needs and requirements to constantly advocate for themselves when they have to do that everywhere else is quite heavy. So I want you to think about it when you're next planning a client survey or user feedback or group event, whether the structure of your questions are raising the voices of underrepresented people's needs. If your business is planning its next adventure and you're not part of the planning committee, just ask whether the locations are how the locations are being considered and how people with additional requirements will be accommodated. Step 3. If this is a party, you're setting your own rules. You've probably been to meetups where they have house rules, with conferences that also have that. You can do this too. They're online. You can work out which one suits you. The only additional thing you need to work on, and that some places miss, is that you need to have consequences for people that break those rules. So if someone is at your party and is intentionally making someone feel small or upsetting them, kick them out. You don't need someone shitty at your party making other people feel shitty. With rules, you can be explicit, and that's probably the best, but if you need to be subversive, that also works. You can also have small actions and just calling out how you want people to be treated and who should be centred at certain organisations. Meetings. The other thing that I've seen is that people that are invited to conferences actually have a template letter that they go back to and go, here's my expectations for attending this conference. I expect that there is accessibility for these people and everything else. So there's quite a few options online. I find that the more opportunities you have to highlight how important this is to you, the more it will become part of your narrative, and the more unapologetic you can be about it, get that confidence, and you get really powerful. So for today, Kit and 7 in 7, the team made it easy. Most of this stuff is available online. And they're light years ahead of most conferences when it comes to inclusion. There's still room, everyone still has room, but they are doing really, really well. For clients, I'm quite fortunate now in that I can be really picky with my clients. In my first call, I'm all over this, and if they're not on board, I'm like, it's okay, we don't have to be friends. And I have been able to learn to walk away from those clients. But that's because I learned what happened when you don't walk away from a shitty client. Earlier this year, I was beginning work with my second biggest client ever. I was excited, and the project was big, and it was going to be great. I was so excited that I kind of ignored the red flags, because they were there, so there. And literally within 6 weeks, I knew that this project wasn't right for me. And 6 weeks in, I'm in trouble, because I haven't been able to get enough of the work done because it's a toxic shithole. But then I'm stuck with, how do I keep a business running if I say no to clients? I need money in to pay myself. So what I did was I rallied my supporters. I went out to anyone that I thought potentially could help and said, I'm in trouble. How can we, even just a little bit of moral support will be good, but physical support would be amazing. I talked through the client, I practiced those conversations. I told them that I felt unsafe with their team. Now, that didn't really do anything, but I did get a few extra days of money, and I did get to open up the door and look for other clients. Eventually I made it out. I'm relatively scar-free, maybe. But it's also still given me that confidence, and I'm like, red flags, I'm not going to go there. I will tell you what I need from you as an organisation, and if you can't do it, then that's fine. We're not a match. The other way you can set your rules is when you're talking to other people you're going to partner with. Now, this is one that I have zero compromise with. If you are not on board with this, your work is not amazing enough for me to fund you to be a jerk to other people. So we can have that conversation and you can ask questions, but if you're not kind of nodding your head and saying, yeah, I get this and we need to do more, take my money elsewhere. There's a marginalised person that needs my money. There is someone that can't be a jerk that needs my money. So when I think about how you can do it, I think about the house party. You can write them down. You can send them out before your party. You can put it on Facebook, wherever that's going. And there's things online, which I'll send through. Now, the next part of your party is to invite everyone, because it's inclusive. You want everyone to attend. There's an online author, Carolina Souza, who said it really nicely. And she said, be aware that simply opening up an opportunity to a broader public doesn't constitute an inclusion strategy. You have to be more deliberate and proactive to create a welcoming space. So you can create a guest list, but you do need to be intentional with it, and you need to be proactive, and you need to consider that vulnerable and marginalised people have been burnt before. So they're not necessarily as excited to go to your party as you might be to invite them. So you need to build trust. And when you're trying to find the people for this list, you can't exploit people to get there. So you can't ask for free work. I've still yet to meet a marginalised person who has not been asked to do work for free. I don't want you to go to any of these efforts, if you want to, and not realise the full potential. So I think about how I did this today. Andrew and I haven't worked together before. I followed him on Twitter, and when I got this project, I messaged him and I said, I think you could probably benefit from this. Do you want to do something? I'm happy to pay for your time. And he was like, can I come? I'm like, I don't know, can you? Now, I also want to mention the reason I keep pointing out that I paid everyone to be part of this. And it goes back to something I mentioned earlier, that marginalised people often get asked to do work for free, and often in a way of like doing it for your people or, you know, for the honour. And marginalised people typically get paid less than everyone else and have less opportunities. So you're asking for someone that gets paid less than you, probably, to do something for free, for the glory. And that's shitty. Okay, so party's happening, you have to enjoy it. Why would you go to all this effort if you're not going to enjoy it? And by enjoy it, I mean profit. Inclusion won't have you earning less money or building a less superior product. Businesses with better diversity experience 23% better profitability and greater innovation results. So, enjoy the magic that you've created. But that's not over. Planning anything big, any conference, any party, any project is hard work. Trying to do it alone is going to be tough. Building a support network will make it easier. If you were doing a party, you want that person that's going to get the last minute ice, or the person that's going to be super quick with that soda water or that piece of wine on the carpet. You want the person that's going to stay back and get the bottles. When we're talking about inclusion, you want to start building a network of people that you can talk through the challenges. You can just talk about how ridiculous some of this stuff is. Because if you have it going on in your head the whole time, that's tough. So the way I get my support is with my team, with these presentations, with sharing my stories, which you've all heard now, so it's okay. And I pay a therapist as well. But as it builds, you can become more apologetic with your approach. And with that means that people will start kind of catching on. They'll follow you. Like, what are you doing now? And how are you doing it? And that's another way that you build your support network. You'll find people that want better outcomes for remote work. They want to see a more representative team. And it's going to be really special. Okay. So, will you make mistakes? Absolutely. Like, without a doubt. Even Lizzo makes mistakes. This is when Lizzo, she ordered a pizza online a few weeks ago. It didn't turn up, and so she complained on Twitter, which I'm sure many of you have done. Something doesn't go right, complain on Twitter. Thing was, when she screenshot all of that, she included the details of the driver. That driver who earns significantly less than her and is stressed, and we don't even know if that driver was the person that caused the problem. She forgot that she has 1.1 million followers and that she has immense privilege in the life that she gets to lead. But she did a good apology. So apologies are genuine. They try to rectify it in any way they can. They apologize sincerely, and you don't do it again. If you miss those steps, so if you do it again, your apology didn't mean much. So, ultimately, inclusion is hard. It's hard because you're working in a system that is flawed. A complex system that relates to a massive intersectional and a bunch of massive, a complex system that relates to massive intersectional and societal problems that crosses every country, every industry, and every vertical. It needs global change, and it's hard work. It comes with an emotional toll as well. So I don't want, unless you really want to, I don't want you to get held up in that greater problem. I want you to think about the small steps you can do today and you can build on tomorrow. That means we can get somewhere. Remember, inclusion's only hard when you've already baked the cake. Have the right ingredients at the start and you could get somewhere. A lot of what I covered today isn't purely for remote work, but it's because your inclusion actions can help in many different situations. But I really want us to leverage this powerful way of working to lift others that could benefit from the opportunity. So, Andrew has an amazing podcast, which is Disability After Dark, where people with disabilities talk about taboos and sex and all this amazing stuff. It's lots of fun. Joan has a daily email of 3 tiny things you could do to help your day. Is that remember your meds, have some water, have a shower, small things that can help. Erica has an amazing Twitter where she's talking about her experience as a person with disabilities, studying people with disabilities around Europe, and I have a Twitter as well. On the QR code as well, if I created a download which has what I covered in these slides, but additional links and resources if you want to find out more. And my mum is specifically missing up here. She doesn't want to be followed. It's specifically, I don't want to be followed. So I want to see what you're doing next. I want to hear how you can try to be more inclusive in your remote work. That's it.
So we're going to run a quick Q&A, get your questions ready. So my question for you is, what do you do if you are starting something new, but the people you want to include don't want to come because you haven't yet earned their trust?
Yeah, and that is hard. Part of it is just building a trust game. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'd put it in a slightly different way. If you're only looking for the short term, so you only want it for one event or something like that, probably don't bother. Like unless you're there for the long term and going to put other things and systems in place, just don't do it. It's probably going to cause more harm than good. So not to say don't include them at all, but don't go to a lot of effort and a lot of investment unless you've got everything kind of behind it. But turn up, do it regularly, be involved.
Awesome. Questions? Yes, Daniel? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hilary, for the presentation. Now, I'm coming from Newtown in Sydney, which you might know, which is an inclusive neighborhood, but another postcode might be less inclusive. So I was wondering what kind of postcode is digital nomadism, because in large organizations and societies there is at least somebody who might take responsibility, for having an inclusive workforce, an inclusive workplace, and so forth. Digital nomadism is probably as close as you can get to, a perfect market. So there is really no centralized structures other than grassroots development. So could you comment a little bit on the differences if you have this kind of centralized institution versus it's a bit what somebody called earlier, a bit of a Wild West phase that we have in digital nomadism?
And it's the same. There is no, there are some organisations that are kind of touching on it, but actually the maturity of organisations with diversity and inclusion is pretty similar, whether they're digital, whether they're location independent or not. A lot of organisations still see diversity and inclusion as let's get more women in their organisation.
Mm-hmm.
And so then someone with a disability is just another set of things to think about. Some organisations are doing it well, but it's still quite low in the spectrum.
Robin and then Jennifer.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm curious what you would recommend for us. I know at the beginning of your presentation you had a QR code that you could scan to make it accessible to a lot of people. So what do you recommend for us who have websites and blogs and want to be able to be more inclusive?
So it depends. So for a website and a blog, there are already websites and blogs that can show you how to make it more inclusive. If it then becomes more than a website or a blog, then it becomes more complicated. But there are, I'll send you a link when I can think of the name, but there is a community website that actually specifically talks about different inclusion practices for web. The technology you use for websites already has a lot of inclusion and accessibility things baked in, so you just actually need to use them. And I don't know, discovering them is hard, but they are there, so it's not actually as hard work as some people think.
Awesome. Jennifer?
So this is something that has existed in my family as a discussion for a long time. I was raised by a dad who's polio affected. My daughter and I have a disability that keeps us from doing a lot of things other people do. It's not a visible one. I started taking aerial silks lesson from a woman who was a double amputee, and just the conversations with her around the kinds of accessibility issues that she encounters. I really think remote work and digital nomadism in particular, we have an opportunity to really serve some of these communities, because remote work enables people who really struggle in physical environments or in face-to-face environments to be able to build lives and careers and businesses that maybe otherwise would be really difficult for them to do. So in thinking about my own business and the ways in which I can expand opportunity for people, I'm thinking about like Tortuga Backpacks. We posted a job 2 weeks ago. Do you know, are there places that companies could be posting these jobs that they will find more of the right kinds of people who need to have their voices amplified more easily? Like, are there job boards for, I don't know what, like?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Mostly no, because it depends on what role you're looking for, what skills you need, and things like that. So they do, but they do tend to be just the mainstream sites. There's no like specific sites, and I think.
So I've been thinking about building something like that. Like my daughter and I have been talking about a way to connect people.
But I'm not sure it's necessary because it's another way to other people.
Yeah.
So I would look at it from a different point of view and make your job adverts and your website, make it known that this is something you've already thought about, and that if they were to apply, this isn't going to be an entirely foreign thing. You're not going to ask. Like Joan had one the other week where someone said, "Oh, so what's it like to be trans?"
Wow.
In the first phone screening. I was like,
in a job interview?
yeah.
I mean, I didn't even feel like it should be legal.
Well, it's not. Like, it's not. But what are you going to do with that conversation? You're not going to,
Right, of course.
Start a lawsuit before that. You're just going to go, fuck, that wasn't the right company for me, and I'm never going to deal with them. And that's...
Yeah, so one of the things at Tortuga is like, we've been working on that. We've been working on diversity and inclusion. We have people with disabilities that are working with us, but we are actively seeking to amplify voices. When we put out job postings, the overwhelming response is from one demographic. And so I would love to have a conversation offline with you later about, even though we've got that in our, in our policies, even though we're known to be a company that is supportive and inclusive, we're still getting 98% one thing. And so how do we level that? And I mean,
And so
maybe
we
that's a
can have
conversation
a chat over later. But I think one thing to just keep in mind is that many marginalised people have been burnt before. So there is that kind of obstacle. It's like, did I say that and mean that? or are they just saying it?
Mhm.
So they'll be looking for other signals and signs. And also there's a momentum thing. So not many marginalised people want to be the first marginalised person in an organisation, because that means that they're doing a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of emotional labour, that's the right word, to help fix the things that you haven't seen, which,
Are inevitable.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's hard work and sometimes you just want to go to work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hilary. Everyone, please give Hilary a round